Hello, and welcome everyone to the tabletop. And we're actually switching things up a little bit here in how we do tabletop today, so we'll explain more of that as we go. But our guest for the day will be none other than Gnimsh. So, hello, Gnimsh, and just a quick intro, just in case someone out there doesn't know who you are.
Oh, hello, hello. Well, should I introduce myself? Well, then,
Yeah, just a quick intro. Yeah, would be
okay.
nice.
I'm Marcin Gnimsh Filipovic. I'm the captain of Cloud9, and I've been playing Hearthstone since forever. Like last year, I was really active, and this year I'm going to be even more active. So I have some tournament wins on my account, like a lot of second places. But other than that, I really love Hearthstone, and I'm really into the community and all the things that surround it.
Sounds great. Yeah. For anyone who's been playing, since the beta and has been keeping up with Hearthstone, definitely probably have seen you around. But for anyone who's now joining in post GVG because you've heard all the hype about Hearthstone, well, now you know who Gnimsh is. So for all of our viewers, in the past tabletop, we usually just had two guests and we would play kind of goofy games, show matches where we'd throw out themes and whatnot. But we decided to take things a little bit differently, especially with the new expansion and just a lot of discussion and still a lot of deck building and experimenting going on in Hearthstone. We want to try to actually just run through maybe some of the new decks and go through a little bit more of an educational style on tabletop. And that way, all of us can learn to at least know how professionals play and why they play better, even if we can't always imitate that. So,
That's a
um,
good idea.
yeah. So Nibsh, I know we kind of asked you, this is what we want to do. What do you think is a good focus for today, and what would you like to show us?
Well, so I was obviously laddering a lot last month post GVG, and I was laddering this month as well. So I feel like one of the people always ask me what's the best deck to level and to use for ladder,
Yeah.
where they kind of dislike Hunter and Zoo because those are the stable decks. Everybody a lot of people play them still, but those decks
Hmm.
don't feel that rewarding. Like you play those decks, but you either win by a landslide or you when you lose it's really frustrating because it's like 2 health off or something. So I have this one deck that I really enjoyed and a lot of people enjoyed watching it as well, and it's a Paladin. And a Paladin's one of the weakest decks before GVG right now has new tools. And at Deck Wars, if people were watching this Deck Wars right before this episode, it was pretty good showing for the Paladin as well. So with the new tools, Paladin is amazing. And I have a specific list that I can talk about and I can play it on ladder.
All right, sounds great. Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat, right? It's like obviously one of the most efficient ways to climb ladder, time wise and everything, matchup wise, is Zoo. It has always been kind of Hunter and Zoo. But for me, it's not also just that sometimes it's not rewarding, but it because even with switches in GVG, it's just like one or two cards. So I feel like I've just been playing the same deck over and over again for like 8 months now. If I ever want to use that to climb, so I always try to experiment. So it's nice to see some new faces after GVG in terms of class choices and archetypes. So why don't we jump right in and see first of all if we can see the deck list here
Sure.
from you, and then we'll be able to check that out and see exactly which type we're looking at. But for anyone who's been following the tournament scene, like you said, has been a Paladin has been pretty efficient. So while we wait for that to set up, let's just talk about that. What do you think about? I think this leads into a whole different discussion, which we can talk about on turn two. But the fact that Paladin has seen a lot of play in tournaments post GVG, do you think that kind of success relates to the latter too? I mean, you said you had good success with it, but would you say it relates to just the average user also?
Well, I think definitely a lot of people. Just give me a second. I will refresh the stream.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people were actually playing Paladin. I got feedback that people are just using my list. They're using Koyuki's list, and they are successful with it because it seems like even though you have a lot of choices, the deck is easy to play and really um, fun to play because it's flexible. You have heals, you have removal, you have a lot of cool minions with the Throttle. So I think everybody can play this list and be successful. And if you're one of the pro players, you can do like miracles with it. I heard that Ecop actually got to um, first place Legend EU with a Paladin list. Not sure what list he actually used, but
Hmm.
he just sprinted through the ranks and he got Legend first, like on the second day or something. So
Wow.
definitely Paladin is very strong right now, and I would recommend it to anyone.
Sounds awesome. And so now we do have your list here already. I love the deck name, Law and Order. It's neat to see. But just run us through it. I mean, for anyone who's been playing for a while, you see, some cards that have kind of been staple in, Paladins and just the game in general. But obviously, we're seeing a lot of new GVG cards in here. Tell us, tell us which ones are new and which one you think are very kind of key to the color of this deck.
Sure. So this is a mid-range deck, which means that the deck is not really aggressive. It's more like stabilizing the board and just keeping the advantage, keeping the initiative, and then following up with the bombs when your opponent is still fighting with what you played before. The deck has a very strong opening versus aggro decks with double zombie chow and shielded mini bots. Shielded Mini Bot is a new card. Zombie Chow is kind of like new from Naxxramas, but a lot of players played with it before. Great anti-aggro card. Shielded Mini Bot is a new great stuff to
Yeah.
answer Knife Juggler, and it's a fantastic card. And then for the new cards, well, you have Master for Battle, which is one of the key cards in the deck. It works very well with Knife Juggler. Also, it gives you a weapon, so again, something that can deal damage or help you trade with the minions. And obviously a fantastic combination with Quartermaster, which buffs the minions. So Quartermaster, as a lot of people ask me if they should run 2, because they feel like 2 gets stuck in your hand, and also they feel like they have to play Quartermaster when they have a couple of minions on board, like a couple of recruits. But
Hmm.
or if you only have like 1 recruit, Quartermaster is still amazing because it's essentially a 4/7 for 5 mana, which stat-wise is not the best, but it's really like viable. And if you have 2 recruits, then it's like a 6/9 for 5 mana, which is
Yeah.
amazing for sure. Then you have well, Bolvar. Let's talk about Bolvar because
Yeah,
people
I'd love
say,
to hear.
yeah, right? Like people are still on the fence if Bolvar is good or not. And I played first Bolvar when Koyuki introduced me to his control list, and I didn't know what to think. But then when you don't want to think, you just try the card. And well, this guy is like a lightning rod for removal. You play Bolvar, and most of the time they have to do something with it. They silence it, they use BGH, they hex it, and when they do that, they don't have removal for Sylvanas, Boom, or Tyrion. Like, it's another card that they have to remove. Most of the time, if you play Bolvar as a 4/7, it's an amazing card. He's only... Well, he's never terrible. I mean, even if you top deck Bolvar, and if it's a 1/7, you can probably kill your minion on board into something, and then play it as a 2/7. So it's always something, but I've seen Bolvar always like silenced, removed with something, and then I follow up with Tyrion, and people just feel sad. It's like, okay, I dealt with this Bolvar, but now what do I do? So I feel
Right
like
on.
Bolvar is actually an okay card for Paladin, and sometimes it can be amazing if they don't have the removal. Like they have to answer Bolvar. Like you can't leave the 5/7 on board or like 7/7.
Right on.
And
Yeah, so I guess what you're saying really is that for the people who might be newer to Hearthstone is that Bolvar, the value in Bolvar is a little bit more indirect than what the card itself does, right? That it draws it a lot more, allowing for your other cards to shine greatly. Because, for instance, Tyrion, I mean, Tyrion's an amazing card, right? But when that used to be kind of the only big legendary that Paladins would run, it was just like save your removal, save your silence for Tyrion, and then kind of game over. There's nothing for the Paladin to look forward to.
yeah, exactly. And also Bolvar works with the new cards, which is Master for Battle. Because
Yeah.
you can like play Master and then just follow up with Bolvar if you have it in your starting hand. Or even if you draw into it. So definitely a good card. Then Piloted Shredder, one of the best cards in GVG right now. Really on curve and creating a minion. We have many funny effects as we've seen in Deck Wars, like getting Doomsayer. But I've seen Piloted Shredder shine, and it brings some cards that are unused to the metagame as well, like Millhouse Mana Storm or Lure Walker Cho, or, there's like many different outcomes with Piloted Shredder, and you have to be smart
Yeah.
about it. So definitely like a cool build where you use all the old Paladin tools that we used to know, which is Equality Consecration combo that clears the board, Aldor Peacekeeper that reacts to everything that's being put on board, a lot of good midrange stuff, and also hard removal cards like Harrison Jones to remove equipment, and Big Game Hunter, which removes the 7+ attack minions. Cards that are, I think, essential in the current metagame, and they really work well with whatever you play against.
Sounds good. I'd love to talk more, but why don't we start jumping into a game as we talk about the deck a little bit more, so the viewers can kind of see how it's done.
Sure.
And so as we're jumping in, I do wanna, ask the Pilot Shredder versus the Mechanical Yeti, right? That's kind of out of the cards that have come into GVG, they're on the same mana for 4 cost. What do you think is the Shredder perhaps maybe like always better, or do you think if it's situational, in which decks does each card fit better?
I think like there's no deck where you will decide to play Mechanical Yeti over Shredder for now. I feel like whenever you want to play Yeti, you want to play Piloted Shredder as well, because it's mostly the mech decks. Like if you're playing outside of the mech deck, you probably don't want the Yeti, you want the Shredder, because Shredder is just a better card. Like creates more value with the possible minion like that you can get. And well, it's probably good to focus on the mulligan right now.
Yeah,
But it's pretty
deal with that.
simple against the mage. This can be a mech mage. While playing on ladder, you have to assume that you're playing against aggro. This can be any mage, but if we don't mulligan against aggro, and this is actually aggro, like tempo mech mage, then we just lose the game. So this kind is okay versus this kind of mage. If we hit another mage, like control mage, we should have enough time to remedy the hand and draw enough cards to be able to fight back. So that's the thing about mulligan.
All right. If you didn't have the coin, would you have kept the Consecrate if it was the same hand?
Yes, because Consecrate is very good versus this kind of mage, like Mech Mage. And you have to make, always you have to make an assumption what are you playing against. Here Zombie Chow is, well, we have a couple of options. Because we can coin out the Juggler, we can coin out the... Alright, we can't coin out the Juggler because then it's just dying to the Clockwork now. So the best play is Zombie Chow, to develop the board and be able to respond to whatever's happening.
Mm-hmm. Nope, sounds pretty straightforward and reasonable. And yeah, like you said, I think a lot of times for people who first start, they're like, oh, I really want to climb ladder. It's one of the key things is you do have to assume that it's always the aggro version of the deck, just because of the fact that ladder matchups are random.
True. Right now we are keeping the coin still. Just coining the Aldor Peacekeeper doesn't make much sense because then he will just kill it. Well, we reduce the attack, so it is a minion, but still the same effect more or less we can achieve with Minibot. And coin will be useful if we get something bigger, like Dr. Boom or Sylvanas that we want to play on one turn earlier. So there's no need to force the Aldor Peacekeeper here. We can just play Minibot. So
good.
right now, you always have to, like, when you're playing versus different decks, you have to assume what will be your line of play. Are you the aggressor? Are you the one who will be doing damage? Or are you defending? Against this kind of mage, you want to respond to the board as quickly as possible. And you want to deny the mech, to deny card effects like Blast Mage, which works when there is a mech on board. Right now, we can go for Juggler, Coin, Rainforce, to have a lucky hit, or we can just follow up with this Peacekeeper. I feel there is no need to risk, and we can just play the Peacekeeper, even though I would love to use Peacekeeper on something bigger, like a Blast Mage or Mechanical Yeti. But if we don't, then our mana curve is actually awkward on turn 4.
Right on.
So I feel this is acceptable, even though I'm not super happy about it.
Yeah, well, sometimes you gotta give in, right? You can't take them all.
Exactly. Like sometimes you have to make the choices and just pick lesser evil.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good way to put it. And as you said, right, Blast Mage kind of one of those things, and Mech Mage kind of plays. I think, to put it in a little bit more relatable terms for some people, is that, right? It's kind of like how you used to have to play against Hunter. You don't want to keep that beast around because there's just so much synergy around that card type, around that race. So, always trying to get rid of that mech. And the Blast Mage came through and did do its job quite well.
Yeah, it definitely worked. Now we have to mind the fact that Skylink, our opponent, has the spare part in his hand. So still 4 viable cards in a spare part. And what we can do here is we can use the Knife Juggler. Play Knife Juggler, coin out the Aldor Peacekeeper to reduce this. Just coining Lotheb into this doesn't make much sense, because then we just lose Lotheb and lose the coin. But just developing 2 minions and reducing the attack on this guy creates the board and creates a situation that's a bit awkward for our opponent, especially if we hit the knife into the Blast Mage. So Juggler first, then coin the Aldor. And maybe hopefully we can hit this guy. Unfortunately not. Sometimes it happens.
Now, obviously we know kind of what we're looking at for your hand and your deck. We ran through it. Turn 5 and 6. What are the cards we're looking out for from Mech Mage?
Can you please read? I was like focusing on the.
Oh yeah, it's fine. So like turn 5 and 6, I guess we'll see. I mean, the Yeti, of course, at turn 4. But my impression has been that there's not like very staple hardcore threats like turn 5 from mages. What would you kind of recommend for a lot of people? Oh, the reversing switch being used well there.
Yeah, that's pretty nice play. He got the switch. He was able to use it to kill the juggler. That was pretty smart. And right now we are in a situation where this board state is not terrible. We were able to stop the onslaught of the mage, and this Mech Mage can really expand with minions and create a situation where you can't respond to like the board, because he's just protecting his mechs with Aniatrons. But right now we are in a situation where we go card for card, and in a card for card situation against a mage, I believe we have an advantage because we have weapons and we have more card draw than a mage in the form of lay on hands. So right now we can just attack here and play Lotheb, which means that we'll force him to attack into the Lotheb and ping it, use 2 mana, and then play something for 4. He might not have a 4 mana spell. He might also attack here, which will create a good consecration turn.
Very true.
But right now the board is undecided.
All right, well, we'll see what his answer is, and if it's another reversing... Oh, he can't use it, though, yeah, because of the spell.
Alright, so it's not the best consecration turn, but we can play a weapon. So still, like, fighting for the board with whatever we have. If I use my weapon and kill this, then I can attack with the Lotheb into Spider Tank. And right now he has 2 spare parts in his hand, so he only has 2 viable cards, actually. Oh, he actually used 1, so he has 3 cards and 1 spare part. I can develop a shielded mini-bot as well to threaten the Yeti, so that he will have to attack with the Yeti into Lotheb. I think there is nothing else we can do here.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I mean, you're the expert, but I am in agreement with what you're saying. So you go through with that.
Alright, so just going through the motions, clearing the board, forcing him in a situation where he has to trade. Even like Flame Strike is not great for him, because then he is losing the board. And a lot of Mech Mages, they are not playing Flame Strike even. Like most of the deck is just based around mechs, and 2 fireballs, 2 frostbolts. But there are surprises. Like you always have to expect the unexpected as well.
And yep, there's the Frostbolt.
Well, every time I played it versus this kind of mage, and when he uses spells to clear my board, I'm happy. Because instead of just getting those spells to my face, it's looking better. Here, we can risk the knife. We have, instead of using Consecration, which doesn't make much sense here, because we just killed the Yeti, we can weapon up the, like, kill Mana Worm with a weapon, and then create a situation where we have 2 chances to kill the Yeti with the hero power. And I think we can actually go for this. Both of the players, like me and this guy, will be in the top deck mode. but that's fine for the moment. So first, if I hit, I will keep the owl for something else.
Right.
You also get a spare part.
And you get it.
And I will probably keep it. So yeah, we can end turn here. And now we're closing to the time where he can play the bombs. Yeah, that's one of the bombs. Oh, we get a shredder. So here we have what, 6 points of damage. Interesting. We definitely need to clear the boom somehow. The problem is, if one of the bombs gets cleared, then we can lose our juggler. So it's a tricky situation here. What to do? Deal 6. We can also try developing the board. Or maybe,
Yeah, this is risky, and this is what Amaz was talking about during Duck Wars too. Is just how Boombot, while it's become a staple and everyone knows it's coming, it oftentimes creates a situation like this where it's a bit of a more intricate puzzle coming from only one card, right?
Yeah. All right, I feel like we can risk it. So attack Boom first, and then see where the knife lands. If the knife lands on Boom, all right, it went for face. So now basically we can try Consecration.
All right. Clear at least the boom bots. See where the bombs go.
All right. So in this situation, Pilot Shredder is contesting Dr. Boom, but still, situation is not that good because if Dr. Boom attacks face, we are at 12, and then he is playing some stuff this turn. So Dr. Boom single-handedly is swaying the game to Mage's favor.
All right. He still has that one spare part too, and there it is.
That might be game right there.
Fireball? Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, if he's buffing it up there with only 4 health, looks like he was looking for that lethal, and didn't even need it with the 2 fireballs, but that is game right there.
That's the power of the Mech Mage.
Yeah, I think that really showcases more the Mech Mage's power than necessarily any strong pros or cons of the Paladin. Yeah. But why don't we spin through one more and see, if we can get a different matchup? Because I'd love to see how that plays out. And I'd love to play as many times as we can see like a big Bolvar come out, because personally I haven't seen that yet in any of my games, or opponent or myself. And
so what is your favorite deck to play on ladder right now?
Right now, right now I'm playing Hunter to kind of climb back into rank 10 and above. Before, I've always mained Priest, but now because I got my gold Priest, I'm just trying to expand a little bit. So I've actually been looking at Warrior that's not the classic like control, but I'm not the best deck builder, so I'm having a little bit issue with that. So I'm actually excited to see slight variations on Paladin decks, because that's probably going to be my next default after testing some Warrior things here and there.
All right, this time we are facing Warlock. If this is a zoo, then we probably need Consecration and some low mana cards. Unfortunately, we didn't get any low mana cards. We got a lot of high mana cards. Zombie Chow doesn't signify that this is zoo. This can also be Handlock. Like, there are versions of Handlock that play Zombie Chow as well.
Yeah.
I think Trump popularized them. So our plan here is just to create minions till we actually draw something that we can use.
Yep. Yeah, I feel that Warlock has just been getting trickier to read, given that not even on turn 1, unless it's like a Flame Imp, right? It's not a dead giveaway that it's going to be Zoo.
Well, this is probably a Handlock then, because Zombie Chow turn 1 and then life tap means that... well, he'll confirm this turn. Like, if he just attacks and life taps, then this is definitely a Handlock. Which means that we are in a good situation, because we have both Big M Hunter and Iron Beak Owl to counter whatever he plays. Unfortunately, we don't do any pressure right now, and we have to continue not doing anything. So the Zombie Chow is countering our minions.
Yeah, And that's why Zombie Chow has really been put into a lot of different decks that people used to not run it. I mean, even Prius, right? It's just to counter kind of that aggro the first couple drops, regardless of the Death Rattle effect.
All right, now it's time to play something. We can coin Lothab to put some pressure on board and maybe stop turn 5. If he responds with Sludge Belcher, we'll be able to trade in Sludge Belcher. Just creating... We can also just play shielded mini-bots and Rainforest. That also makes sense. He will probably just get the shield out of this guy, and then on turn 5 we can follow up with Lothab. Coin can be used with Sylvanas maybe next turn, or with Tyrion on turn 7. So I'm fine with just playing the small minions for now.
Right on.
Maybe the Handlock will feel ambitious and will silence the 4-5 and start being a beatdown.
We'll see. While we're on this topic, you know, I thought about maybe we can talk about it on turn 2, but of course recently who was it? Magic Gamey played Handlock and then played Mal'Ganis in there, and other people have tried it on ladder too. I mean, what's your thought on that? Obviously, it's just another slower card that feels just kind of safer. But what's your take on adding that card into Handlocks?
I feel like Mal'Ganis has some place in Handlocks. Maybe if you modify the deck a bit, like add more demons to be able to secure the position, because if you just play Mal'Ganis and don't have any demons, it's like an okay card, kind of like a finisher, but not really. It might be greedy, but definitely something that people do not expect. And surprising people is always good. Here, I don't feel like playing Sylvanas because there is nothing really I want to steal. And he can just kill Sylvanas with those 2 minions. I can play Piloted Shredder to develop the board even more, and maybe coin the Recruit to create a good board for Quartermaster and to not lose the mana. But then I'm losing mana next turn, so this is a tough spot. Playing Lothab seems like wasting Lothab, so I feel like Shredder and Recruit is fine, because right now we are having a situation where he really wants to kill the Shredder, so we are like baiting him into trading minions, and we also don't give him a good Siphon Soul target.
True.
Playing versus Handlock is mostly like chess. Maybe not like as a Paladin, but most of the time it's like move for move, card for card, and you have to plan ahead.
Okay, well, we'll see what our opponent here responds with. But how are you feeling now? I mean, given your cards, right? You started with all the higher end cards, and you've managed to get up to this point as we see that Dark Bomb come through. I mean, would you say you're in a pretty good position?
Not really. I mean, this game is pretty even, and I wasn't able to abuse my Iron Beak Owl and Big Hunter against his Giants and Twilight Drake. And also, I feel like, well, I have all the cards, but I miss Equality to be able to counter like big stuff when it happens. So right now it's not terrible, but I'm not that amazed. We are able to take control over the board here, so that's good. Maybe we'll be able to get one Shadow Flame from him. This matchup mostly comes down to Jaraxxus, I feel. Like, he will try to like bait out my removal to be able to, so that I use my removal on all the normal cards that he is going to play. And then he plays Jaraxxus and seals the game with a constant flow of Infernals that I'm not able to interact with.
Yeah. Now, Science on the Watcher, no Shadow Flame, but that to cover up the board a little bit.
We have a funny combo in hands. If with the Lucky Knives, we might actually kill those guys here. But we can also use Silence and be able to kill those guys with like only 2 points of mana. So the question is, am I ready to use my silence on something like this instead of Twilight Drake? I feel like I can do it. So silence this and then play, well, even before, Juggler first, then silence, then Master for battle, and see if we can clear this board.
Okay. And then just trying to take complete control of the board here.
Yeah, and also force some removal. Okay, that was good.
Oh,
Maybe
all right.
instead of Master, I can do something else. I think it's fine. It's fine actually. Okay. That didn't work as expected, but it's not terrible. Also, it's important how much health you want to have on Handlock, because you always are in the threat of Molten Giants. In this case, I feel like 16 is fine. He can play one Molten Giant for 6 and use
some Fear Protector.
The Protector, yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like Shadow Flame turn.
Maybe. More Hellfire.
Defender of Argus on the empty board.
Huh.
I guess... I don't know. He could protect his son, slash Belcher. Okay, I feel like this is Tyrion turn. We just play Tyrion on empty and force a shot of like Siphon Soul. And if he plays Siphon Soul, he can still play Molten Giant. So we can actually attack for 1. Or not really. No attack. Just Tyrion.
Okay.
So I'm not attacking because if I attack, he can life tap and then play 2 Molten Giants for free.
And still, yeah, play something else, I see.
Or maybe he doesn't have the Siphon Soul.
Guess not. Well, now there's a...
There is a Molten Giant, but we have the BGH. So we definitely clear the Molten with BGH. We still have a small weapon. Warlock is actually running low on cards. And he played 1 Molten Giant, so it's possible that in the first 16 cards, he only had 1 Molten Giant. So right now we can follow up with... We can actually create a situation with like a bit of a better board. Just kill the 3/4.
Okay.
Create a board and kill the Iron Beak. To try to create a situation where he can't clear.
Right on. So there's the Divine Shield there and the taunts if he's just going to try to run things in. Tyrion's safe. 7-mana Mountain Giant.
Alright, so he's really running low on cards. Instead of tapping, he's just forcing minions on board. And we can take advantage of this. Just kill Mountain Giant with the Tyrion and with the mini-bots. Kill this guy with our Defender of Argus and weapon. And then play Lothab and also play like Juggler and a minion. So that he probably doesn't have a Shadow Flame. If he will have a Shadow Flame, he would use Shadow Flame last turn, I believe. Maybe he didn't have a minion to use. So I believe first we can check what we get with Knife Juggler. If the knife lands here, what happens? We have 2 knives that will fly. We have 1 token and 1 Lothab. If by any chance we land the knives here, it's actually a pretty good outcome. And that one didn't matter that much. This one matters a bit. I can also take 8 damage here.
Yeah, would you consider doing that? I was about to ask.
No, I don't think so.
So it's pretty much do or die time now for the Warlock.
All right, so Warlock is
And there it is.
helpful. All right, so that's the Paladin. I mean, it's a very good deck against Mage. Mage is a tough matchup, but it's winnable. If there is Doctor Boom followed by double Fireball, it's really hard to deal with that. But normally you can take over the board with Consecration, with Master for Battle. So you are in those situations where you can get an edge and win.
Right on. Now, what I kind of want to point out is here, obviously, I think what a lot of people, and I'm a victim of this too, make mistakes when they're trying to deck build themselves is you get too caught up on like a combo or one card, right, as the characterization of your deck. And for Paladins, I mean, everyone said muster for battle. It's like a must include, and it's definitely a very distinct color in new Paladin decks. But for instance, this game, you didn't even draw it, and you played fine with it. So where do you find that balance when you're trying out decks or building decks? How do you go about? I guess what's your thought process as you start building a deck?
Well, basically, you have to think about the idea of how are you going to win the game. Like, what's your game plan? Even if you're if you think about a cool combo, you have to think how to win if you don't draw the combo. And if you don't play a combo deck, so like for example, a Void Caller, a Demon Lock, right? So it's pretty cool if the Void Caller is dead and you get Mal'Ganis in your hand and you summon Mal'Ganis on like turn 3 or 4. It's amazing. But then if it doesn't happen, what happens with your game plan? Like how do you win the game? So when you're building decks, you have to think about like the whole structure and how to win overall. So for example, if you're playing if you're building a rush deck, like a Hunter Rush, you have to think, all right, so I have all those small mana cards, and what do I do when I run out of them? So then you have to think about the draw, like how to replenish my hand. So you probably want to play Jeeves. If you play midrange, you want to think about the follow-up, like if he trades all my board, like what do I do on turn 8, on turn 9? And if you're playing control, how do I not die and then play my cards that win me the game? So you have to think about all those different strategies, and then you basically start with a troll deck. I mean, like a first draft, first idea deck, and then you refine it by playing. So like you play versus those different matchups, and the meta game shapes your deck. And then you might end up with something like a 6-0 pirate.
Right. I was about to say, I see that name right there. And okay, so pirates, I've loved the pirate card types, and I loved trying things out with them. And I've heard of people testing for fun since GVG, but I haven't seen too many people I guess experimenting with it to the fullest extent where they're like, okay, now I've really managed to make it a little bit more stable. Now, is that deck we're looking at there a little bit, would you say more consistent where it's more viable, or is it still just kind of purely fun?
Well, so I saw 6-0 design this deck today, like 12 hours ago or something. I just tuned into his stream, and he was streaming this deck. He was rank 4. His score was 10-1, 10 wins, 1 loss, and it really
Wow.
worked. Like this deck is abusing pirate cannons, and it's kind of like an rush rogue deck, but with the flair and the fun and theme. So it actually worked, and especially when you run when you play music from Pirates of the Caribbean or Captain Jack, and then it's really working. So if we have time, we can actually check how it looks like.
Yeah, I'd love to. We definitely have time, so I'd love to see how that works out. So some people, if you watch 6, you'll have seen how it works, but I'd love to see you run through it. If we want to, should we check the deck list out first before we jump in,
No,
or
let's
should we
do it
just
like
leave it up for the
let's
viewers?
let's YOLO it. Let's
All
just
right,
YOLO.
let's go. Let's just jump right in.
All
Now,
right. Yeah, please continue.
yeah, for pirates. Now, I used to like experimenting with pirates with hunters pre GBG, but it seems obviously with things like One-Eyed Cheat coming out and ideas there, and a couple more ways to buff your weapons for rogues, that GVG has really kind of pushed pirates into the rogue class. Would you say that's just the state of pirates now, or do you think it's just the most obvious, but there's definitely other ways to try to experiment with pirate cards?
Well, I think you can still try to build a pirate warrior deck. I know Lothar was trying one for the longest time because you have
Hmm.
the weapons, so you can do stuff there. But I feel like Rogue is really good with those with the one-eyed cheat and other cards. Right now, I kept a lot of pirates. We don't know what we are playing against. We might be
Hmm.
playing versus Zoo, so unfortunately I need to use my Saucy deckhand to be able to counter whatever the Zoo is going to play against me. But you can see the ship's cannon. If we are able to get the ship's cannon running, it might be an amazing, amazing start.
All right. On the flip side, gonna be a zoo, and it gets buffed right away. So, hmm.
All right, so here, unfortunately, just playing the ship's cannon won't cut it, and we need to clear the Undertaker as fast as possible. So an option will be to just weapon up and use the weapon and the Saucy Deckhand to clear the Undertaker, and then on next turn maybe use Eviscerate or play the first Ship's Cannon, and after that play Ship's Cannon and One-Eyed Cheat to control the board. So right now the priority will be to clear the Undertaker.
All right.
But overall, if we get the Ship's Cannons running, the deck will be really amazing.
Yeah, I think it's great. I've at the end of last season, I would play with demolishers and any class that had ways to buff mechs like hunters and rogues. And obviously, if you can get them running, it's quite snowbally, but it's very conditional. Like you said, in the idea of deck building, you're gonna have to have some other ideas go in there.
All right, so here again, before we activate the cannons, we need to clear the board. So just try to react to whatever Zoo is doing. Get those minions out of the way. And now what will be a key turn, what he plays. Zoo is actually pretty annoying for this deck. If they get Haunted Creeper and Implosion. But if they don't, you can get a lot of advantage here. Oh, Dread
All
Courser.
right.
So let's play the first cannon. The first cannon. And the first pirate. And I feel like we can play the Raider first. Raider will be contesting the 2-1 and the 2-3, so we have 2/2/3 minions, and maybe we can get lucky and hit the Leper now. So let's see how it works.
I hope so.
Come on, the cannon. Not really, but still, that's good. It's still better than face. Like, if the cannon would hit face, that would be annoying. Alright, so is he going to clear?
I guess so.
Okay, that might be tough. We got some more pirates. And I guess we need to continue abusing the cannon here. With probably the captain. Captain will be the biggest. And the cannon needs to hit the juggler. Okay. So, well, it's, pirates. Pirates sometimes get random, right? They don't always work.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if the cards were made so that whether it's the demolisher or the ship's cannon, that they couldn't hit face, it'd be a very different story. But for now, they still can.
Well, basically, the idea is to start with Argent Squire and to be an aggressor. But here, the situation is pretty tough.
Yeah, you had a slightly slower start for at least this deck. It's looking a little bit tough, but you know what? I mean, if the game's not over yet, I'm not calling it over. But if
sure.
we definitely have time, so I'd be willing to give it another shot because I'd love to see it play out a little bit more against a deck that's not Zoo.
Yeah, Zoo is unfortunately tough. Like, Zoo is just playing all the minions that are hard to go around. I feel like this deck can work in the tournament setting.
Oh, okay.
Where you can ban the Zoo, and then you can play this deck to counter some other stuff. Well, right now he is in an awkward situation. But he has an advantage still.
Yeah. By all means. All right, yeah, he definitely wants to get rid of that one. I cheat. Still not going to get the knife, but wow.
Comeback time. Can we actually come back from this? We can kind of with the Blade Flurry. So possibly I can attack the Juggler and then use the Blade Flurry
Right.
to develop Squire. And if the Zoo doesn't play any cards for the next couple of turns, we have we have a chance.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's not something I hear too often, but we'll see.
Also, this deck uses Jeeves to replenish the hand because, as you can see, there are no more cards to be played.
Hmm.
Oh, he is sorry. Okay.
Oh, well, that's
Well, that was well played by the Zoo.
Yeah, I mean, and that was just a classic case, of course, of Zoo had the cards he wanted from the get-go, and not it's not that you didn't, I guess you didn't have the cards you wanted, but rather that the Zoo just kind of has the advantage there if you both have cards you want on turn 1 and 2. But yeah,
Yeah,
let's just
basically this deck is very good versus control decks because you start with those minions really fast, and then you just spawn the board and buff stuff, and you have reach with removal cards like Eviscerates and with Jeeves. So versus Zoo, versus Hunter it's decent. Versus Zoo it's winnable, but it's more like I think 60-70% in Zoo's favor. Oh, so we got another example of the meta game. We got a Hunter now. And this is a pretty good hand versus Hunter, even though we don't
Oh,
have the pirate.
you have King Mukla in there too.
Yeah, it's not a pirate, but you are throwing bananas. So throwing cannonballs and throwing bananas in your opponent. Let's keep it.
I like it. It's been a while since I've seen Mukla around.
And we mentioned this before about it. It's always good to surprise your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the element of surprise, well, look at this sweet hand.
Wow.
This is exactly how it works.
I hope it works out exactly as it looks like it should. We'll see what Thunder does here.
Well, I guess we'll weapon up and kill the juggler here. Or
Okay.
maybe not even. We don't have to. Look at this.
Yeah, the backstab, draw, and now you're just in business, right? Because you still kept both your minions, and then the Mukla's gonna come in next turn.
Feels like
That's
a pirate
rough.
deck. We're going to make this guy walk the plank. And there is a pirate for turn 4 and a weapon up for turn 4. But this is definitely Makla turn. So let's give him some bananas because he's not doing that well this game.
The mercy bananas.
He always has something, right?
No minions to use it with, so.
Well, now he has a Crocolisk, so that's something.
3/4, all right.
Okay, let's try to just kill this guy with pirates.
With the pirates, okay.
I can also think about like using the dagger first and then using one of the raiders.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like dagger is probably better. Just dagger up and kill this guy with the makla and then deal 2 damage to face. Because if we hit this with 2 damage, there is like no good way to kill it. Unless I actually weapon up. And then finish it with the 1/1 and weapon attack. And I think that has some merit. So, and that's also like deals the most damage. And in this situation, I can take damage myself. So if we hit, okay,
right,
we got
then
it.
you'll go with the squire. That's a good case of just it's worth waiting to see, waiting for the board to let you decide what to play or how to play it.
I'm also thinking about explosive trap, so don't want to have everything onto health.
Oh, there is that secret coming out.
That's not bad. I feel like even if this is an explosive trap, I can still play Dread Courser and Bloodstained Raider.
Okay. You have the Jeeves there for the draw on turn 6 with something else or hero power.
Yeah, and this is creating a very strong brawl. Uh, Brawl. I mean, it creates a very strong board.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy is getting
Nice.
killed. Oh, and actually, I didn't have to play this one because this is probably Explosive Trap.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
it's not.
you could have tested first.
Yeah,
Oh, but it's a snake trap. Okay.
it's a snake trap. See the
Well,
power
yeah,
of the
there you
pirates.
go. Wow. I mean, granted, yeah, your opening hand was pretty ridiculous, but there you go. But I'm interested because you said that you actually think that this deck may have some merit in a tournament setting. If if you can have bans against the opponent and whatnot. But as we look at the deck list, if you can run through it and then explain why you think that might be. Looking at the patient assassin too, that's neat to see in there.
Yeah. Well, basically the deck is a tempo-based rogue that has a lot of interaction with its minions. So I had a couple of games with One Eye Cheat where I just play One Eye Cheat and it survives, and then I buff it with Cold Blood and follow up with the Pirates. So he actually stays stealthed for a couple of turns, and
Hmm.
it's really hard to remove if the opponent doesn't have the cards like AoE removal. So you have all those interactions with Barber buffing the weapon, and then Bloodstained Raider being buffed more because the weapon is bigger. You have the cannons, which are amazing in the minion battles. Like Ship's
Hmm.
Cannon is kind of like the Fell Tower, is it?
The
How's it
Fel
called?
Cannon,
Fell
the
Cannon,
Fel Cannon,
yeah.
yeah.
But then Ship's Cannon will never damage your minions, so it's like a mini Fell Cannon, but it's better. And if you have
True.
enough pirates, it's like you can almost use it every turn. But imagine like the turn where you play Ship's Cannon on turn 2, and then on turn 3 you follow up with like a Soft Seed Deckhand and Bloodstained Raider. You just deal 4 damage to the board somehow. So it's like a big juggler that's actually clearing the board for you.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like cool interactions and tempo-based mechanics here, so that you can, well, like with the hunter, it's really hard to come back with when I have the board, and then you also have Jeeves to like follow up with card draw. So definitely a fun deck to play. Shout out to Sixo, building it and being brave to play on the ladder. I had fun with it, and I hope that people can try it as well.
Absolutely. I think, anyone who kind of wants a different twist, and if you have all the cards or if you have dust to go out and finish it up, I think it's definitely worth checking in because I know GVG it's still being figured out, right? I mean, we have new cards, but it's really more been that some new heroes have come back into power. It's just been kind of that shift more than completely crazy archetypes. I mean, Mech Mage kind of being a staple in that one, but a lot of the community, especially if you're not in a tournament setting or maybe you don't have all the cards or you're just not looking to play at that level. It's like, well, I also want a deck that's new. I can have fun with on ladder that also has some stability to it. This looks like it's a good place to start.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, and if you are a fan of pirates, just play Pirates of the Caribbean and just play it and say R. And, it's a lot of
Who
fun.
isn't who isn't a fan of pirates? Who isn't? Well, that's pretty awesome. I'm happy to see this. Yeah, shout out to Zixo for sure for making this happen, the deck, and then testing it on a ladder first. And thank you, Gnimsh, for showing it to us, and also for your rundown on how Paladin is now. Kind of what to look for when you're building that Paladin deck in GVG and running through on ladder. Of course, we're wrapping up tabletop right now as we're just going through with just kind of educational format here on the new tabletop in 2015. But myself and Gnimsh aren't going to go anywhere because we are going to return with turn 2 very shortly, where I believe Farmir is still available and will be joining us right back on to discuss, kind of the recent happenings in not GVG, Hearthstone esports, and also just community meta, things like that, where we break everything down about Hearthstone, and it'll be the first turn 2 of 2015. So don't go anywhere. But thank you so much, Gnimsh, once again for joining us on the tabletop. Thank you to all the viewers who have been watching, and we'll be right back with turn 2.